UPod Street is an official affiliate of Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com/UPodStreet, and 10% of your order will go directly to supporting the pod. Use code UPodStreet at checkout, and you'll get 10% taken off your order. Now sit back, relax, and keep that beer cold, because it's on to UPod Street. What is up, Birdland? Welcome to another week of UPod Street. I am your co-host, Jimmy Horn, and joining me, as always, is the brunette Thor himself, Jack Bain.
What up?
Jack, word on the street is that the Green Terror are on a tear.
Word on the street is that the Green Terror are hot. Yeah, been going real good recently. 3 games left in the season. Need like one more win to clinch a playoff berth. First time in 2016. So fingers crossed. But I like my guys' chances.
Well, that's exciting. That's a lot of good work going on over there in Central Maryland. Get the Green Terror into the playoffs. Some other good work going on in the baseball world, Jack. Them O's. So if you're joining us live, I hope your heart rate has gone down since the end of that game that ended just about hour and a half or so ago. Orioles squeaked out a win. We'll talk about that in just a second, but really important road trip this week, which kind of on paper at the start of the season, you looked at this road trip, you didn't think it would be all that important. 2 out of division game or series against 2 teams that you didn't really expect to be doing this well this early in the season. But Kansas City right there in the mix of things. They're in a lot of people's top 10 for power rankings. And even the Angels, I mean, don't sleep on them because they are, I wouldn't say hot, I wouldn't say good, but I also wouldn't say bad either, which last year was not the case. So it turned into, what was it?
They're watchable this year.
They're watchable. Yeah. Watchable, which is weird because they lost Shohei Ohtani, and you thought, well, there was only one reason to watch last year because Trout was hurt most of the year, and that was Shohei Ohtani. So you lose him, you don't think they're watchable, but suddenly they are. Yeah,
we'll talk about it more later on in the episode, but it's just that the core young guys that they have there, just making it a little bit more bearable to watch the LA Angels of Anaheim.
Of Southern California, of whatever their name is. So let's get right into it. When we left last week, it was right before the Orioles made their trip to Kansas City. Did not start off the way that the Orioles wanted it to start. The Royals kind of roiled all over the Orioles, which is the best way I can phrase it. Started out as a pitcher's duel. Dean Kramer came in, started off actually pretty well. I mean, he would end up going 5 2/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. Did give up a home run. The wheels kind of fell off the wagon there, Jack, towards the end of his outing. He can't quite get to that 6 complete innings, I should say. And when you look at the numbers of Dean Kramer, that third time round the order really seems to be giving him a lot of trouble. Batting average shoots way up when he's going the third time around the order. I think it's over 300 when he gets to the third time around. That being said, he did not leave the Orioles in a bad place when he gave up the mound. Unfortunately for him and the Baltimore Orioles, when he gave up the mound then went to Keegan Aiken, who up until probably this last week or so had been looking like a completely new Keegan Aiken. Just for the old Keegan Aiken to make his storied appearance. Only went a third of an inning, gave up 3 hits, 3 runs, and a walk. And suddenly, the Orioles were down by a bunch. Royals also have a 5-run 6th inning followed by a 3-run 7th inning. Uh, Not looking good for the O's. The one small glimpse of, I don't know, good stuff that comes out of this is Adley Rutschman does hit a grand slam, which meant that the new hydration station for the first time did have 4 people drinking out of it at once, which was really the only fun thing to come out of this game.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway here is we could look at Kramer's outing. Walked a bunch of guys, didn't really have a lot of strikeouts, per usual. But I will say that his line is a little inflated. He left with 2 outs and 2 guys on. Keegan Aiken couldn't strand them. So 2 of those runners did come in off of Keegan Aiken. Of course, the runs are still charged to him, but I honestly look at this outing for Kramer as mediocre, not a bad one. Like he almost got through 6. Gave the bullpen a little bit of rest. He was able to make it through more than 4, which is sometimes a tall ask for him. So I look at it, like I said, like not all that bad. Like only at 91 pitches. Maybe could have gotten that last out in the 6th there. Who knows? But this was just a complete clunker from Keegan Aiken as well as Dylan Tate.
Yeah, Dylan Tate did not look good in this one either.
Yeah, just getting hit around a bunch. When you don't pitch, you can't win. Adley with the grand slam, of course, gives the offense a better light for this game, but all around not a great baseball game for the Baltimore Orioles. And that happens. It's hard to win 3 games in a row, hard to sweep a team, especially when the bar is set that high for the Orioles these days.
Well, and especially, I mean, this is a team that not only had just swept the Twins, they had won the game before that too. They'd already won 4 games in a row, and so to win a 5th game in a row is sometimes a tall task, especially when the Royals had like some ridiculous home record going into this series.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially to come in first game of the series and expect the other team who has been doing really good at home just to roll over. With this was our 5, right? This was our 5 starter pitching. Typically not a game that you think that, the Orioles are going to slug their way to victory through.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I mean, I don't want to talk too much bad stuff about Dean Kramer. I like Dean Kramer. The biggest thing with Dean is, does he leave you with a chance to win? And he did. It's the rest of the team that didn't quite pick him up there. But then you go into game 2 and you think, okay, we got to wash that one away. We have our ace on the mound, Corbin Burns, who, for the most part, up until the 6th inning, had a really good outing. The Orioles, the offense picked him up as well. They had a 7-run 2nd inning against Cole Reagans, who, if you guys remember, the last time the Orioles faced the Royals about 2 weeks ago, Cole Reagans just shoved all over the Orioles, had a no-hitter going through a lot of it, and just really dominated the Orioles. So for the offense to come out and have a 7-run 2nd inning against him and chase him from the ball game in the 2nd inning was huge. No easy task.
Yeah, anytime you put up a touchdown in 1 inning, usually a good sign that the offense is clicking, and especially against a plus arm like Reagans, who, like you said, did really good against us first time around. Guess Orioles hitters were watching a lot of film before this start, just completely locked in for that 2nd inning there, batted around, I think once and a few guys after that.
Yeah, yeah.
Other than that offensive outburst, right, in that 2nd inning, circling back to Corbin Burns' start, I think that this was a prime example of a really good pitcher pitching with a lead. You see the strikeout number. He only had 4 in this game, probably because he was trying to throw pitches in the zone to induce soft contact and just get outs. Like when you're up by a touchdown that early in the game, like you can attack the zone. You can be more risky with some pitches that, risk having home run potential. So to see that Salvador Perez, a very good hitter, regardless of his age, hits a 3-run home run in the sixth.
Salvador Perez also had a really good game. He just had a really good
Yeah,
game. I think he
yeah,
got on base like 5 times in this game.
yeah. When you're on, you're on. Like he was 3 for 5, 5 RBIs. I mean that's gonna do it. Again, like I look at that, still a really good start for Burns. He was just pitching a little differently than he does. Um, wouldn't be worried about it at all.
No, he had one bad pitch to a really good hitter, caused a 3-run home run, which is going to inflate the stats just a little bit. But at the end of the day, I mean, 5 2/3 of that outing was phenomenal. It was just that last third, and people question, should Hyde have let him finish out the inning? Hyde decided not to. Turns out okay. But the rest of that game, suddenly you're sitting on pins and needles because that Orioles bullpen does not perform well in supporting Corbin Burns. So Ramirez, Colomb, and Cano combined for 1 1/3 inning pitched, 3 hits, 4 runs, 3 walks, and 1 strikeout. Really turned what was a blowout game into a really close, really tight game.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the bullpen usage here, and you see a lot of guys. Like you can tell that this game was a game that Hyde really wanted to win. Like he knew that this would shift the whole momentum of the series. And I think he really managed this game well. Say what you want about how he handled Burns in that sixth inning, but he deployed his bullpen in a way that one was effective for the most part. Obviously, you see the bullpen letting up 4 earned runs over the course of their outings. But you get to the back end there in the later innings, like that eighth and ninth inning, probably the most crucial in that game to shut down that Royals offense. Keegan Aiken with 2/3. Sure, he let up a double, but he kept the ball in the yard. Mike Bauman came in for that last third. And then Craig Kimbrell, dude, has been lights out so far.
Yeah, Kimbrel. Remember, I said he was my surprise this year. Everybody said he's washed, and I said I don't think he's as washed as people think he is. Real funny story from this that everyone's probably read at this point, but I love it. This save put Craig Kimbrel, I think, at like tied for 7th overall in
Yeah.
saves in MLB history. And Colton Cowser caught the final out, and to quote Colton Cowser, he then yeeted the ball into the stands. Didn't look, just threw it behind him. And apparently in the interview, he said, yeah, I thought right when I threw it, Craig has a lot of saves. I hope that ball wasn't important. Turns out it was, because it moved him into tied for 7th overall. The lucky thing for Colton Cowser is that it flew right into one of the fountains out there at Kansas City, and some of the ushers were able to retrieve it for him. However, they could not authenticate the ball because it was soaked.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't know that part.
yeah, yeah, they weren't able to. I think they said the next day they were sitting in rice.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw that he had the tub of rice.
So, typical Colton Cowser shenanigans there. When asked if he's ever going to live this down, he said he doesn't think he's going to live it down, at least for another year.
No.
Uh, Probably will not be throwing any more balls into the stands just to make sure. But the Orioles do squeak at this win. I mean, you didn't think it was a game they're going to win at some point there. Once the Royals tied it at 7, I said, "There's no way. There's no way that the Orioles are going to win this game. The vibes have completely shifted. The momentum has completely shifted." But they do. They get a run in the 8th and 9th innings, or excuse me, the 7th and 8th innings to pull ahead 9-7, and Kimbrel getting that save, absolutely clutch. Um,
Sure.
and then we go into Sunday's game. Jack, I'm going to let you take Sunday's game just because I'm watching my Wi-Fi bar here go up and down.
Yes, sir. Ask me where I watched this game.
Where did you watch this game?
I watched this game at McGurk's.
Ah, good old McGurk's.
Your favorite place.
Yeah, man, I love to watch my Eagles games there.
Good cheesesteak. Had a good cheesesteak.
Oh yeah, they got great. They import their bread from Philly.
Nuh-uh. Well, there you go. The more you know. So yeah, Sunday to wrap up the series in Kansas City. I think you can only call this one the Cole Irvin show. 6 2/3 was a career high um, for any team that he's been on, A's and O's. This was his longest outing ever. 6 2/3, 4 hits, 2 walks, 2 punch outs. Most dominant we've ever seen Cole Irvin ever in any role. I mean, he was just
Yeah.
able to locate everything, be effective in and out of the zone, and really keep a good Royals lineup at bay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could ask anything more from Cole over in here. This might have been the best performance we've had from an Orioles pitcher this year. And to have it come from Cole Irvin was absolutely phenomenal. And he did exactly what Cole Irvin needs to do to be successful. He got a lot of soft contact, kept the ball in the yard. Like you said, he only had 2 strikeouts, but he didn't need to strike a lot of guys out because he was getting the perfect contact that he needed. And when you have that soft contact, you're not striking guys out. That means you get longevity. And that's why he was able to go almost 7 innings. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. Love that for Cole Irvin. And also love that for this Orioles team that really needed something like that to get the momentum going again. You just squeaked out a win the night before. Let's just go in and completely shut down the Royals for this last game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just staying on the pitching side of things, bullpen comes in, only allows 1 hit over 2 innings of work, or excuse me, 2 1/3. Glad to see Danny Coulomb bounce back in this game with 2 punch outs. Did allow a hit, but anytime you strike out 2 guys, the hit is a moot point. Dylan Tate also very good in this one, walked the guy, but did get 3 outs all the same. At the plate, a big home run for Cowser, just keeping it rolling. That was his 5th of the year, as well as a home run for Westberg, who also hit his 5th of the year in this game. And they were not cheap ones. They
They're back to back too.
Yeah, back-to-back homers. Colton Cowser's was 111 off the bat, and Westberg's was also 111 off the bat. If we're going to round up that half decimal. Pretty much, same distance as well, 430, 433. 2 young guys who are really, really locked in at the moment. So great to see those dudes still getting it done. On the flip side, Seth Lugo coming into this game with some really good starts under his belt this year. Did not look nearly as good against this Orioles lineup. The O's got him throwing a lot of pitches early on. Really attacking early in counts, as well as working a lot of counts. They didn't walk very much against Lugo, but the 2 homers, whenever you can hit the ball over the fence, regardless of how many people are on base, that'll work. And then a little bit of insurance there in the 9th for the Orioles offense to complete the shutout and series win over the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, Jack, but I never want to see the Kansas City Royals for the rest of the season, and we don't have to.
Great news.
It was they're just a frustrating team to play, man. They just really are. They
Yeah.
they play a complete game. They're never asleep. And to come out of it, taking the season series from them 4-2, absolutely huge. And they're still on a lot of people's power rankings
Oh,
being
yeah.
in the top 10 as they should be.
Certainly.
And now we're done with them. We don't have to deal with them anymore for the rest of the regular season. I know Ben Verlander was out there tweeting that he wants to see an Orioles Royals playoff series. I don't
No,
want
thank
to
you.
see that at
No,
all.
thank you.
No thanks. No thanks. That was way too frustrating. I'm happy that we took the season series, but please make that it. I don't want to see the Royals in the playoffs.
Do not be surprised though if the Royals do make the playoffs. Hopefully not against us, but when this team's firing on all cylinders, on both sides of the ball, when their pitching and hitting is at where it needs to be, they're going to be a scary team, and they could really run away with this AL Central division once you get into the dog days of summer. I just think they're too complete with a really young, exciting core, especially if they make some acquisitions at the deadline as well.
That'll be the interesting thing is what they do at the deadline. I mean, this is a team that interestingly last year was not very good as far as the record is concerned, and they really just kind of went all out this offseason. 14 of their 26-man roster are guys that they acquired in the offseason, which is wild. And so they're making a lot of noise. Luckily, the Orioles were able to get out of it with the series win. And then they went to the LA Angels, another team that this was the last time that we were going to be playing them for the year. First series went very much in the Orioles' favor with those first two games. The Orioles scoring 26 runs, did not get it done in the third game to complete the sweep, which just goes to show how hard it is to sweep a team. But Orioles go into Los Angeles or Anaheim, Los Angeles of Anaheim, whatever you want to call it. Um, Game one, Orioles basically controlled this game, but it was never out of reach for the Angels. James McCann got it started with a second inning home run, and Colton Cowser, wouldn't you know, second game in a row with a home run, his sixth on the year. I think the Orioles right now have 5 players, maybe 6 players that have 6 home runs, which is the most of any team. The Orioles are leading all of Major League Baseball with home runs, which is a really exciting thing, something dating back to those 20 teens Orioles. That's something that we did when we were successful, was lead the league in home runs. So I'd like to see that again. And Jack, the biggest thing from this game that I have to ask you, it's a very important question. Is Albert Suarez him?
I mean, it sure looked like it. In these past two starts, lineups that he's faced between the Twins and the Angels. I mean, there's some lineups. So it's very promising to see that he can effectively strike out those guys. 5 strikeouts in this game, but also just keep the ball in the yard. I feel like for a guy who hasn't pitched in a really long time at this level, that could be an issue right out of the gate. And he's been really effective, man, hitting his spots where he needs to. Hasn't really made like a very detrimental mistake in both of these starts. Um, if we stretch him out a little bit longer, keep getting him starts under his belt, keep building him up, he could start going deeper into these games. Perhaps like he pitches in the 6th inning, maybe the 7th, depends how it starts going. But really promising to see that he's stepped up into a role that Tyler Wells had before he went down on injury, and has proven to really be a serviceable arm in this Orioles rotation for now.
Yeah, I mean, I really like where he is. I mean, we're only 2 starts in. Who knows what could happen? Again, I said it last week. Once teams start getting more of a scouting report on him, things could change. But I love this for him. If he keeps this up, if he's able to make it where you can't remove him from this Orioles rotation, and he plays throughout the year up in the major league level, I mean, this is a guy that could end up being Major League Baseball comeback player of the year. I mean, 7 years out of the league. I mean, that's a great story in its own. You know what his ERA right now is, Jack?
0.
0. Goose egg. 0.00. He's gone 5 2/3 in both of his starts. I mean, most of our starters regularly are going 5 2/3. So he's doing what everybody else is doing. I can't really pick out what exactly it is that he's doing super well, but he is. He's just pitching well. And, I don't know if this is going to be keep pitching well until John Means is back or Kyle Bradish is back, or just keep pitching well until you're not. And we're not going to remove you until you stop pitching well. I don't know, but could be really interesting if he continues this. And suddenly the Orioles are looking at, do we need to do a 6-man rotation? I don't know. But really good story there. Interesting end to this game. So the Orioles were up 4-2 in the 9th inning. Craig Kimbrell got into a little bit of a jam here. He had the bases loaded, 2 outs, and who was up to bat but Mike Trout. And Kimbrell rings him up looking. Ends the game to get his next save. Orioles win 4-2. Nice way to start the series.
Yeah, moving on to game 2. Not as good to hope coming off that series opening win. I think just Grayson Rodriguez was not sharp at all in this one. Didn't make it out of the 5th inning, letting up 11 hits, 7 earned runs. Workouts, and you'll see that his walk numbers, he only had 1, which typically means a good Grayson Rodriguez start. But just watching this game yesterday, and they were saying this on the broadcast as well, that he could not locate anything. Everything was just sitting middle, fastballs, off speed pitches, and guys like Joe Adell were really ripping in to Grayson Rodriguez. Opened up with a Mike Trout homer. You know, you live with the Mike Trout homers, and just keep hoping that you can bounce back from that. But after that, everything just kind of fell apart. Highest amount of runs let up in the start for Grayson so far this season. Um, yeah, just no good takeaways for Grayson in this one. Bullpen was good though. Trying to hold the Angels where they were after that 7th spot that Grayson let up. Dylan Tate, Keegan Aiken, and Johan Ramirez combined for 3 2/3 of scoreless ball. Offense, Gunnar hit a homer, and it was a homer. But other than that, just pretty stagnant. Scoring 4 runs is good, but when you have a start like Grayson did, just kind of hard to bounce back.
Yeah, I feel like with Grayson, one of these starts was coming. I
Yeah,
mean, you go back to last year when he came back from AAA, he didn't really have one of these starts when he came back from AAA. So he went an entire half season and almost an entire month of the next season without having one of these starts that you kind of need to flush. He's still young. I mean, that's the thing that people still got to realize about Grayson Rodriguez. I mean, he hasn't even had a full year in the MLB yet because he had that stint in AAA last year. So he's still learning. So I think our expectations are really high with him. So when you see him do a start like this, you kind of go like, oh no, but then you have to remind yourself like he's still young. You're still gonna get 1 or 2 of these starts from him a year. I wouldn't panic. I think he'll figure it out come his next start. It's just part of the longer learning process that is Major League Baseball.
yeah, absolutely. And you look at the big offensive contributors for the Angels in this game. Obviously, the Mike Trout homer, and then Logan O'Hoppe was 2 for 4. He's a big time prospect who had a really good start to the year. I know I kind of ribbed Joe Adell there, but he is batting 314 so far this season. He was 2 for 3. Luis Rengifo, who's batting just south of 300, was 2 for 4. And Zach Neto, who's a really exciting prospect as well, was 2 for 3 in this one. So you look up and down this Angels lineup, and you realize that it's really not as bad as you initially thought it was, just because of that sour taste in your mouth from last year. But there's some dudes in here who are swinging it. And I mean, the guys that weren't swinging it so far this year, like Grayson and company, were able to hold them down. It was just those key contributors for the Angels offensively that really turned the tide in this game.
Yeah, and then we came in today, a nice day game, which day game on the West Coast after a night game on the West Coast is a nice little breath of fresh air. You don't have to worry about trying to stay awake through it. Um, and it starts with some domination by the Orioles. First of all, can we talk about Dean Kramer, who does not give up a hit until he's 4 2/3 innings into the game. Really pitched really well to start this game. Also, Gunnar Henderson had another home run in this game as well. So he went back-to-back games with a home run, his 8th home run of the year, leading the Orioles with that number right there. Only 2 behind Mike Trout, who is leading all of Major League Baseball right now
Making a
in
good
home
case
runs.
for MVP.
Yeah. I mean, I saw today someone said that Gunner's odds for MVP are now down to plus 1,000. So if you want to put your bets in for Gunner MVP, do it now.
Plus a
Um,
thousand. That doesn't seem right.
yeah, well, it's down from something else. I think it was like plus 2,500 or something like that.
He's
Like
at
it
plus 750 right now.
so it's gone even lower since someone tweeted that out. So plus
Yeah,
750. So if you want to make money on Gunner MVP, put it in now.
please.
Um, you also have a 4-run 6 inning for the Orioles that puts them up 6-0, kind of like that Royals game on Saturday. You thought, all right, here we go, time to coast into a victory, and what happens? But in the 6th inning, Dean Kramer lets up another home run to Trout. That was his 10th one. That is now the league leading. Like we said, Mike Trout, he's going to do it to you. He just is.
Yeah.
His final line was 5 1/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 10 Ks, which was tied a career high for Dean Kramer.
Yeah, 10 Ks, double digit Ks from Dean Kramer. Honestly, feels like a fever dream. You look at the K column usually for Kramer starts. You see 3, 4. I mean, we just talked about one, earlier in the episode, like very low strikeout numbers. But in this one, everything was just working. That strikeout pitch was working. Like you said, the Mike Trout homer, never great. But was able to limit the damage there. You wish that he could go a little bit deeper into this game. But when you're striking guys out, pitch count's going to get up there.
Yep, absolutely. Angels ended up battling back against this Orioles bullpen, which seems to be kind of up and down. By the ninth inning, they make it 6-5. Craig Kimbrell on the mound does give up that 1 run, but
Unearned.
battles through and ends up getting the win on a caught stealing to end the game. Went to review in New York. I don't know about you, Jack, if you've seen the replay of it yet or if you were watching it live. Looked like he was safe to me. But apparently New York said that there was not enough evidence to overturn, so the call stood, ended the game. Orioles end their road trip 4-2 on the road trip with that 6-5 win over the Los Angeles Angels. Jack, how are you feeling after that road trip?
Yeah, I mean, road trips, especially that go into the West Coast for a touch. It was weird, right? Kansas City's not that far away. Just to jet over to LA for 3 games, smack in the middle of April. It just didn't make much sense. But the fact that the O's could come out of this road trip 4-2, I think is really all you can ask out of them, just to win both of the series. Anytime you go to the West Coast, it's hard. You're going to be a little bit jet lagged. The fact that they could take 4 out of 6, happy with it. Hopefully, not jet lag coming on back to Baltimore to start the series up with the A's. But overall, great road trip.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of confused by that scheduling too. Usually they try to do a bunch of West Coast teams together so you can kind of rip the West Coast trips off like a Band-Aid. And for whatever reason, they're not doing that this year, especially because our next opponent is Oakland.
Yeah.
And we're playing them at home. Seems like he could have like reversed that or something and played Oakland in Oakland to extend this road trip, and who knows.
Who knows?
But a couple of things of note from this past week. First, there are some awards that came out for the Orioles, coming right off of Colton Cowser winning AL Player of the Week the week before. They went back-to-back in home runs on Sunday, so why not go back-to-back in AL Players of the Weeks? Jordan Westburg gets AL Player of the Week. He had 5 extra base hits, 8 RBIs, and an OPS of 1.413 for the week. Absolutely great week from Jordan Westburg. First time the Orioles have gone back-to-back with AL Players of the Week honors since Eddie Murray did it himself, I believe, in 1985 or something like that. It was in the 80s when Eddie Murray did it by himself. So, hey, absolutely love this for this team. Vibes are high, getting it from all around the lineup. And then Cedric Mullins, that catch that we talked about that he had in the opening game against the Minnesota Twins, got play of the week, which notably is his 6th play of the week all time, which leads all of Major League Baseball ever since play of the week has been a thing. This goes back to his 4th that he had all time last season, was then the league lead all time for plays of the week. And he's had 2 this year. This is his 2nd one this year. So Cedric Mullins absolutely playing lights out when he's out in the field. A little bit streaky with the hitting right now. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. But he did have like a 10 game hit streak there at one point. And can we get this man a gold glove already? I swear.
Seriously.
Um, Jack, I have a question for you.
Yo.
Are you worried about Jackson Holiday?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be, right? I think you have to be. Picked up his second hit yesterday. Um, he just seems very, very overpowered.
Hmm.
Um, sure, he probably got a lot of nerves. But yeah, just looks really uncomfortable. I thought that yesterday, honestly, was his best day for how he handled his at bats. I mean, I know he still punched out a couple times, but like just the contact and the foul balls that he had just seemed more competitive at the plate. Obviously, he had the hit, so that's a bright spot there, anyways. But yeah, just the approach right now, it's just not there. He rolls over just about everything to the right side, which is not what he was doing in AAA. Um, did we bring him up too fast? Maybe, but the way that he was going in AAA, I mean, how could you keep him down?
Yeah, I mean there is one bright spot to all this. So back when Jackson was like 1 for 22 or something like that, in that same stretch, Aaron Judge was 1 for 23
Yeah.
with one more strikeout than Jackson Holiday. So I mean the thing is, this stuff happens. By the way, the Boo Birds are out in New York. I don't know if you know that or not, but the Boo Birds are out for Aaron Judge in New York
For
right now.
Judge?
For Judge. For Judge.
No way.
Yeah, he was asked about it and he said, "Well, I've been called worse."
That's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, man. Yeah, well, that's New York for you. They
Did
don't
Derek
appreciate
Jeter
what
ever
they
get
have.
booed like that?
I don't know. That's a good question. He had to have at some point in his career. At
Yeah.
some point.
I just feel like the captain tag for the Yankees holds so much just
Yeah.
everything. How could you boo him? That's your guy.
I know. I know, but I mean, I guess 1 for 23 with 13 Ks. I guess that's enough for New York to boo.
Don't boo
Um
Jackson Holiday. He doesn't need it.
No, do not boo Jackson Holiday. Do not boo Jackson Holiday. Nobody do that. I'm not calling for that. I'm just saying that New York, kind of sucks as a place. So, uh
Not that it was assumed that Orioles fans would boo Jackson Holiday.
no,
Just,
no, no, no.
just gotta make sure.
Here's my thing, Jack. Here's my thing. I think you're right. Right now it's pretty clear that Jackson Holiday is overmatched and he's got a lot of adjustments that he has to make right now. Um I think as long as you're winning ball games, you can allow him to take up that ninth
Yeah,
spot and work through it. I mean,
absolutely.
that's the thing is he's not costing us any
Right,
games as far as what I can tell.
right.
And so you can afford that lineup spot to go to him because the only way he's going to adjust to major league pitching is seeing more major league pitching. Like I don't think right now you send him back to AAA. Give it another week and a half, 2 weeks. If he's still struggling, yeah, okay, let's start talking about AAA.
Yeah,
But I think the best thing for him is to keep seeing major league pitching, start making those adjustments and everything like that. And as long as you're winning games, who cares? Let
for sure.
him take the time he needs to adjust. I keep preaching patience with everybody. Just be patient. It's going to come. And when it comes, I think it's going to be a spectacular moment that Jackson Holiday is going to start to look like the guy that we know he is.
Absolutely. I just want to emphasize, like, sure, he's having a really tough start. Orioles are just they continue to win, right? Like if we weren't winning, I would say, give somebody that's going to produce anything. Um, but they keep winning. Let him work it out, right? Like you said, 2 more weeks maybe. Honestly, I'd give him even longer now that he's not starting as consistently. So yeah, you can be
Yeah, I
worried a
mean,
little bit, but no panic button yet.
Hyder's doing the right thing. He's playing the splits with him. Jorge Mateo played today for second base because there was a lefty on the mound. So, keep easing him into it as best you can. Keep him in that 9 hole, so there's less pressure on him. It's going to come around. I mean, we got another walk from him this week as well as another base hit. and it's gonna start to happen a little bit more consistently. At some point, the floodgates are gonna open for Jackson Holiday.
For sure.
It's just a little bit. You're gonna see it just incrementally. I think you're gonna see those hits start to land. Um, we also got so this kind of bleeds into the next segment, but we have some injury updates. So the big one this week was Austin Hayes went on to the 10-day IL with a left calf strain, which then opened the door for Heston Kjerstad to be called up from AAA Norfolk. Heston Kjerstad in his first game back up went 0 for 4 with 3 Ks in that loss to the Angels. Jack, are you worried about Heston Kjerstad?
Absolutely not. Something that we didn't say when talking about this game was that Griffin Canning made everybody on the Orioles look really stupid for a good couple of innings, and which gave way to some really good bullpen arms as well. Certainly not worried about it. The whole offense was a little sluggish that night. Something was off with that game. I mean, you could tell. So certainly not one game in am I worried. Um, Obviously didn't get the start today, but I expect him to be back in the lineup. Nothing like a good home series where you just got called up to get the nerves off your back a little bit, especially against the A's.
Were you surprised at all that when Hayes went down that they called up Kjerstad?
Surprised?
Were you surprised? This is a genuine question because here's the thing. I asked the question, okay, Austin Hayes is going down. Are they going to bring up Stowers or are they going to bring up Kjerstad? And I had tons of people reply me, it's going to be neither. They're going to bring up Ryan McKenna, which is over the last like 3 or 4 years, that is the move that the Orioles would have made probably. A lot of people pointed out that they needed more right-handed bats in the lineup. That's why Kjerstad and Stowers weren't going to be called up. Um, I think people have been kind of burned enough about the teases of someone big coming up for like Ryan McKenna coming up instead. Um, so I was kind of wondering that a little bit. I was pleasant. I wouldn't say surprised. I wasn't pleasantly surprised, but I was pleasantly reaffirmed uh, that Kjerstad was the one to come up because I mean, 10 home runs in AAA, leading all of minor league baseball in home runs. I mean, how could you not call him up?
Yeah, I mean, they were looking for somebody who's going to impact the baseball. And I think that he's your best bet right now. Like, I feel like every time MLB Pipeline makes a post, it's Heston Kjerstad.
Oh yeah.
Um, so for that reason, for just how hot he was, not that surprised. I honestly kind of forgot Ryan McKenna existed.
Well, remember he
Until
got
like
DFA'd out of spring training, cleared waivers, and then signed with AAA Norfolk.
yeah, so until like we talked about it a little bit earlier this week, I had no idea Ryan McKenna was still in the system. To keep it a buck with you, so no, I was not very surprised when one of the younger guys got caught up.
Yeah, very deservedly so. Heston Kjerstad got called up. I'm excited for him to come home because I want him to hit the warehouse. I
Yeah,
want him to hit the warehouse so bad. If
yeah,
anyone's gonna do it, it's gonna be him.
yeah. I mean, we'll see. I mean, A's are a good team to have that happen. So hopefully Friday, in the City Connects, no less, where I feel like Kjerstad kind of excels in.
He
Uh,
does. He feels very at home in the City Connects.
yeah, he'll get some good swings off.
Other injury updates. John Means made another rehab start yesterday. Not as bad as the last one. He went 4 1/3, gave up 3 runs, 7 hits, 5 Ks. 79 pitches overall, 53 of which were thrown for strikes. Breaking news as of today, Brandon Hyde said that the next start for John Means could be for the Orioles, which would put him at first being available for Sunday, April 28th against the A's. It is possible that he could do one more rehab start. Jack, how are you feeling about a possible John Means return
Not very good.
because of his rehab starts?
Yeah, I mean, like if you can't get AAA guys out and like you're letting up 7 hits, um, 3 runs, like I understand that there's some really like good AAA guys out there, um, but none of his starts have been really convincing to say that he's ready to come back. Um, I don't know, like if you just keep letting him ride on AAA starts, um, like that might not be good for him. Maybe he needs that kind of edge that pitching in a major league game gives you, like just the adrenaline, all of the above. Like maybe he needs that, and maybe on Sunday he'll come out and shove if he does end up pitching. I think it's really hard to tell. Like there's so many different things that go in to making a start in professional baseball. Like your routine could be changed, perhaps, like I said just before, like pitching in a major league stadium, there's nothing like it. Like hearing guys talk about pitching in stadiums where there are 3 levels, like that's the biggest thing, and he could feed off of that, and let himself pitch again. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head with his rehab start numbers. They're not good. They're just not.
Yeah,
Um, the one thing I think to maybe put us at ease a little bit is I don't believe that Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde would want him to come up and make a major league start if they didn't know something that we didn't know.
yeah. There's so much that
And
goes on internal.
yeah, like I really feel like and I know I've said it before, this was kind of his spring training,
Yeah,
and I think a lot of it was probably less strategic for, how do you get this guy out, and was more, hey, throw this pitch over and over again and see how you feel. Hey, try to locate this pitch and see if you throw it exactly where you wanted to throw it, and that sort of thing. So I think it's very possible that you know that's what they're looking at is how did you feel coming off the mound throwing this variety of pitches, and if your arm feels good then we feel confident in you. I think that's very possible.
yeah. No, it's a very good point that often doesn't get thought about, um, in the middle of like rehab starts that are happening during the season. Like you hear about that in spring training and think that's only a spring training thing, but no, it could definitely be a part of this. I would feel a lot better if he was having the starts that Bradish was having, in the
Hmm.
minor leagues. I just think that like Bradish, even though the numbers aren't necessarily perfect and where you want them to be, it's much more promising. Like I feel like there's just a little bit more, to take from his starts and say that he is close to being ready again.
Yeah, and I mean even Brad just kind of struggled in his last rehab start. That's the next guy on our list. AAA Norfolk on Sunday, he only went 3 1/3, 64 pitches. I think he did give up a couple runs and stuff like that. Um, but uh, Hyde said for his timetable for Kyle Bradish, they're looking to have him get through 5 innings pitched and around 80 pitches. His next rehab start is Friday for the Tides. So he's still maybe a week or two behind. But I mean, if John Means does come back and he does what we hope John Means does, if those rehab starts really were just, hey, we're just looking to see you throw this mix of pitches and see how your elbow feels after that, then great, great, I love it. Um, and Bradish comes back after him. I mean that's suddenly we're back to that rotation that we were so excited about after the Burns trade, right? Which is
Absolutely.
exciting. Joe brought up a really good point here of how do you push a guy with a 0 ERA, talking about Suarez. Um, that's a good point. I don't know. I mean, right now, Wells, he's going to go to the bullpen. I don't think if John Means comes back before Wells is off the IL, Wells is coming back in the bullpen,
Yeah,
and
and I
that just
mean,
goes to show like he didn't have it this year as a starter.
yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, what did Wells do to prove that he should get that rotation spot back after coming back from injury? Especially if whoever replaces him, has a zero ERA or is just more effective in general. Um, 6-man rotation could be in the cards. Although I don't think that Grayson should get an extra day of rest ever again, after his start last night.
Yeah, I think
So
he showed that he's a five day guy.
yeah, yeah, and that's the kind of structure that a lot of these pro guys need, right? They need that routine, like I alluded to.
So
Um,
much in baseball is about routine.
Dude, it's
So much of it is
crazy.
about routine.
It's crazy. Like I can definitely speaking from experience. Like I had to foam roll before every game that I played, or else like it just something felt off. Um, like I'm not a big like don't wash your uniform or anything like that, or like any lucky token, so to speak. But like little things like that could just be a foam roll, or how many days of rest you're getting in between. Like I know, like when we'd have makeup games that would just get thrown into a weekend extra. Like sometimes you'd either go really good on that day, or you wanted to curl up in a ball and die on that day. So it's which I'm sure is kind of how Grayson is feeling right now. Um, but yeah, a lot of big exciting things coming back into the rotation, the Orioles roster in general. So we'll see what the decision makers up top do.
I think that goes into the next thing a little bit. I kind of asked, the Orioles right now are tied for first with the Yankees. We'll see what the Yankees do tonight, see if that stands.
They're winning
Um,
6-3 currently over the A's.
so probably not going to stand by the end of the night. Thank you, Oakland, for being Oakland. Um, well, they're not going to be Oakland for long. I'm sorry, guys. Um, I stand with Oakland, man. I feel bad for them.
I do too.
Um,
For sure.
I'll be interested to see if there's any like sell the team chance or anything like that when they come into town this weekend.
Maybe. Maybe.
Um, but when I look at this team, the question was kind of, what do you like about this team right now? What kind of gives you some concern? The thing that you like about this team, I think, has to be just the lineup, 1 through 9. Uh, you just you never know who's going to be the guy that produces that night, and sometimes it's everyone's producing that night. Um,
Absolutely.
I think what we saw in that playoff series with Texas, not to give anyone any flashbacks to the horror that was that series, but 1 through 9, they just had dogs, man.
They had dudes.
They just everyone in that lineup was dangerous.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where the Orioles are right now.
Absolutely.
We're just like you don't get a break in this Orioles lineup if you're an opposing pitcher.
Yeah. Even if like for example, Jackson Holiday, even if he's not producing, or if Kerstad isn't producing, like the guys around them are gonna fill in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like regular season games, that's all you need to do. Like 6 of the 9 guys, 7 of the 9 guys are firing like multi-hit games. Like that's all you need,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it like throwing a couple walks from the guys that don't have any hits. Like I mean, there you go.
And like I said earlier, I mean, they got like what 5 guys that already have 6 home runs, which leads
Yeah,
all of Major League Baseball. And they're not guys that necessarily you expected either. I mean, I think Santander hasn't reached 6 home runs yet.
yeah,
Mountcastle, I think, has only had 2 home runs. Adley Rutschman's only had 2 home runs. The guys who have 6 home runs right now, I mean, Gunnar, you kind of expected.
yeah.
But I think it's also like Cowser, um, Mullins, Westberg, I think, has 6 home runs. I
Westberg's
mean,
at 5.
he's at
Or
5. Okay.
no, I don't know. Sorry.
He might be at 6 now. That might have been his 6 on Sunday. I can't
Yeah,
remember. But it's just all these all around guys. It's not the Chris Davis years where Chris Davis is crushing 50 home runs and everybody else has like 25.
right.
Like everybody's just kind of doing their part, and that's kind of the really exciting thing.
Yeah,
The thing that
absolutely.
gives me, some pause is that bullpen
Dude, we're on the same page, Jimmy Horn. I
right
just think
there.
like
That's UPod right there.
yeah, I just think like the bullpen. We have this bar set from last year that was completely lights out, right?
And was driven by Felix Bautista, who was the best relief pitcher in all of baseball. I don't even say best closer. He was the best relief pitcher in all of baseball, period.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Craig Kimbrell's giving you flashes. Might not be the same look as what Bautista did, but he's got a .82 ERA, and 7 saves so far. Like he is providing a good closer option. I think that the other guys like Mike Bauman, like Danny Coulomb, who's been really good at points but also really bad at points, Jacob Webb too. Like they don't have these sub 2 ERAs like they did last year. They have low or mid 2s to high 2s, low 3s ERAs, and that just doesn't feel the same like it did last year. So that regression, especially in guys like Cano, who you got to expect a little bit of regression from, he's still at a 2.9, but like they're just not the same as they were last year. That expected regression is happening, and I don't think that we're used to that regression happening yet.
Yeah, I think there is going to be help when Means and Bradish come back because Wells and probably Irvin go to the bullpen. So that's, get Ramirez, Johan Ramirez out of here. Dude couldn't even not walk a guy the other night. I'm not even going to say he couldn't get anybody out. He couldn't not walk anyone the other night. Get Keegan Aiken out of here. Old Keegan Aiken has returned. Get him out of here. That shores up your bullpen a little bit. I'm going to be really interested what the Orioles do at the trade deadline with the bullpen. I think that's the biggest thing is do we see a package with Austin Hayes? Do we see a package with Ramon Arias? Do we see a package with some of our big prospects to go out and get a bullpen arm that really shores up that back end of the bullpen, really make sure that Craig Kimbrell is set up for success by the guys in front of him? That's really the only thing giving me pause right now. Our rotation has been phenomenal, even without Wells and Means, or without Means and Bradish, excuse me. Will get better when they are back in it. Suarez is surprising us, which I love. It's just keeping those leads. That's what's making me real nervous, is keeping those leads. The fact that we get these 7-run, second innings and all of a sudden it's a game again, like that's what scares me. For
sure. You going to the yard this weekend?
I'm going to a wedding this weekend, actually. So
sure enough.
Our buddy Seth is getting married this weekend. Shout out Seth and Tori for their wedding. So I won't be going this weekend. I have tickets for Tuesday's game against the Yankees. I'm debating if I want to exchange those because I don't really like going to Yankees games. I'm not gonna lie. I hate being surrounded by Yankees fans. I really, really hate going to the yard when the Yankees are in town, mostly because of the fans.
Yeah.
We'll see if I decide to go to that or not. You going to any?
Try and make it out on Sunday, I think. I've only been once, so I'm trying to get out as much as I can.
Those are rookie numbers. You got to bump those numbers up.
Yeah. A's come to town. Yankees come to town. Got to take care of business against the A's. And then the Yankees should be a good series. Not as hot as they started out off the jump. It just seemed like everything was clicking for them. Kind of came back to earth a little bit. Still a very good ball club. Still pretty hot. 2 heavyweights in that series. I think that's the one that's going to be circled on a lot of people's calendars across the league. Kind of see what both teams are made of when they play, in-division rival, really heavy hitters. 4-game set too. So
I would not be surprised to see that be a 2-2 series.
Come on, manifest the 3-1 series win, Jimmy.
I would love a 3-1 series win, but the way these two teams are playing right now, I think a split series is pretty likely. Sure. I hope for the 3-1 series win. Hey, you know what? Let's go even further, Jack. I hope for the 4-0 series sweep.
There you go.
But we'll see. I think it's going to be like you said, it's a heavyweight battle. Looking forward to it. Anything you'd like to say before we say goodbye to the people, Jack?
Thank you all for watching. As always, it is a pleasure to be here talking in front of you. And the only reason we do it is because some people listen. So thank you very much for listening.
Absolutely, guys. We'll see you next week. And as always, let's go O's.
Thank you, everybody.
You've been listening to UPod Street, an Orioles podcast by fans for fans. UPod Street is an official Birdland Sports affiliate. Directly support the pod by purchasing UPod Street or other Orioles merchandise using the link birdlandsports.com/UPod Street. Get 10% off your order when you use the code UPod Street. Follow us on Twitter @UPod Street and @JackBain20. UPod Street is also on Facebook and YouTube, and you can listen to the show on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. On whatever platform you listen, please subscribe, rate the pod, and leave a review. If you leave a review, we may even read it on the show. We'll see you next week, and of course, let's go O's.